Hello and welcome to Battle Streams in Middle-earth, and welcome to Damian's hobby vlog, and I believe it will probably be number 28, although I'm currently so far behind on my hobby vlogs, I truly don't know. If you're new to the channel, welcome. This is the channel where we have fortnightly live streams where we kind of encourage everyone to come together and paint for the fun and the joy of the hobby, roughly themed around the DxD Parkwork Battle Games in Middle-earth. But also on this channel I track my own hobby journeys throughout the year, and I am gradually catching up. I'm in a weird time traveling multiverse here where I've just recorded the end of a vlog from a very, very long time ago, and I'm now straight afterwards I'm recording the start of a vlog kind of for the future. So it's a strange time, but I'm hoping that this one is going to be called something along the lines of The Road to Throne Skulls Part 1, and anyone who's followed my hobby journey over the last few years, kind of since 2018 really, will know that Throne of Skulls is a massive, massive part of my hobby life. It is, it's what I get super excited about. It's my favourite event of the year, and I always go all out. So there will be display boards, there'll be custom dice, there will be fancy dress. Oh yes. There'll be new models being painted and all that sort of stuff. And I have massive, massive plans for it, but I am going to talk about so little of those plans in this vlog. I want to try and get this one really, really, really focused, because I did a similar thing last year. I think I started off with some Grim Hammers last year, and I was like, if I don't get the Grim Hammers painted, I won't do the rest of the project, so there's no point telling you about the rest of the project. And that's exactly how I feel now. This vlog, I'm going to be painting two heroes, or trying to get, I say painting them, they're both started from previous projects, but I'm going to be painting two heroes and trying to get those guys done. And if I can get those guys done, then there's a chance that my Throne of Skulls project will happen. And if I don't get those guys done, then it won't. So basically my hope is do this vlog, which I'm hoping will actually be quite short, because there'll only be a couple of clips in it, I think, and finish the two heroes. And then once they're done, I'll be able to go, okay, great. Then what this now means is that next time I can, next time I'll be able to focus and really explore what I'm going to be doing with the board. So of course, you will be getting some sort of hints. I think you'll be able to work out what I'm up to for Throne of Skulls, and maybe that will, give you something to kind of think about and anticipate over the next couple of weeks before the next vlog drops. But for now, I'm just going to be starting with two heroes. To give you a bit of situate you where we are. It is currently the 16th of October. And by my reckoning, we have 6 weeks to go until Throne of Skulls. And of course it's less than that, because the 16th of October is a Monday, and I'll be going off to Throne of Skulls on the Friday. So I've only got kind of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday evening. So it's not 6 weeks, it's it's 5.5 weeks to go. And as ever, you'll all be delighted to know I don't think that's enough time. It's not a guaranteed failure yet, but it's not as much time as I want. So we're going to start with these two heroes, get them painted, and if things start to go well, then we can have the hellish vlog that you're all expecting, the one with the shed, the real stress, the display board, all of that sort of stuff. That's all to come in, hopefully, Throne of Skulls vlog 2. But on the other hand, if I just have a dire couple of weeks and don't get these guys painted, it won't happen. So that's where we are. So who are we painting? Let's see if you can work out what we're doing. We are painting Eomer, Marshal of the Riddermark, new plastic one. And to go with him, we are painting Gandalf the White. Ah yes, specifically this pose of Gandalf the White. So these are the two heroes that I need to do. And what's super, super fun about doing these guys on Battle Games in Middle-earth is these kind of part painting models are both Battle Games in Middle-earth models. So Gandalf the White was started to be painted on an old B-Sime stream, and I just went and checked it. I checked the my spreadsheet, and I was able to find which one he was on, but it goes back to a period before I've dated them. So it is Battle Streams in Middle-earth episode 11 which is when we were on the GBHL, and that was streamed on the 5th of June 2020. So on the 5th of June 2020, we had Horse Week, and I started working on this guy. He was the one, and I just didn't enjoy him. I remember not liking the process at all, getting really frustrated with him, and just putting him down and never ever finishing him. He's looking at him now. I'm willing to say he's not far off. His face is done, his skin's done, and there's lots of layers down. So I don't actually think he's that far off. He's going to be one of those models that has languished in a near complete state for, what is that? Over 3 years, nearly 3.5 years, and he's probably going to be finished in a couple of evenings, which would be super super cool. But such is the way B-Sun works. And this guy, this guy's Battlestream's Middle Earth royalty, right? He's this is the guy whose arm I dropped in a bin on which one was that? Assembled Eomer. That was on the 11th of September 2020. So that was almost exactly 3 years ago. The guy whose arm I assembled, dropped in the bin. We had bin cam trying to find the arm and all that. And then I started painting him again recently. Let me see if I can find him. I think, is it that one? On stream 86. So the 28th of July. So yeah, I assembled him in September 2020 and then started painting him in July. And now it's October and I'm going to try and finish painting him. So that's mega. And what's also crazy is, by complete luck, those two models are the only two models I've started working on in streams for battle streams and not finished. So there's something super super serendipitous about this. But yeah, that's the kind of exciting kind of bit of history. I need those two heroes. They're going to be the two most important heroes in my army. I'm sure you can work out what I'm up to. And we need to get them painted, and we need to get them painted well as well. These aren't models where I'm trying to do it quickly. I don't want them to be B-Sun models. I want these to be models that will stand the test of time, might be photographed for the magazine in the future, that kind of stuff. So I do want them to be good, but I just hope that for this vlog, by focusing in just on two models, the heroes, the most important models, and trying to get them out of the way, I'm hoping that we'll be, it will help me in the future, I guess. It'll help me in the last few weeks. Only two heroes, already assembled, already with some colours down. Eomer's not fully base coated yet. If I can get these done in 2 weeks, I'll be happy. Basically, a week per hero I would be pleased with. So if we can, it's currently Monday the 16th, if I can be back to you on Monday the 30th with them finished, that would be super, super cool. And I'll be really, really pleased with that. But I think that's about it. I'm going to get stuck into these, try and make as much progress as I can, and I'm hoping I might actually just bring the camera over now and show you the state that they're in at present. That'd be a good jump. But then I'm hoping that then it will be, as I said, a pretty short vlog where they'll come back and they'll be done, and then we can move on to all together more exciting things. But there we go. That's what I'm going to be up to for the next couple of weeks. Really excited to get these classics done. Let's get stuck in. Okay, so it is a few seconds after I recorded that last clip, and let's just see how the models are looking before we start work on them. So let's start with Gandalf. Here he is. So this is the Gandalf that was painted like 3 years ago. And as you see, let's start with the face. I'm pretty happy with that. The face is done. You can see he's had his eyes painted in. I think he looks alright. I don't think I'm going to go back and I don't think I've got the time to go into that. I'm kind of happy with how that looks. But as you can see, I think what was really frustrating me was Shadowfax in particular. I don't particularly know what's kind of gone wrong here, but he's very, very, I don't know, shiny white. There's not a lot I can do about this. I don't really have an answer, but I just wasn't enjoying painting this at all. I don't know if it's something to do with this is the fine cast version as opposed to the metal version, but there's just something about the way it doesn't look like it's a natural white at all. It looks like a badly painted white horse, and currently the mane and the hair, which I think have just been base coated, are just bright yellow. So I need to do a lot of work on it. And then his cloak, his robes here, which are the kind of creamier colour, obviously had a couple of layers there, but clearly need a lot of work. So I can remember abandoning this and just not enjoying it at all, but I don't particularly know what I'm going to do. I don't know which bit I'm going to start with or what I need to do to make it better. I just need to know. I just know I need to make it better. I've never had the motivation to return to this model, and now I do have the motivation because I absolutely need him. As I said in the other one, it's absolutely crucial. It's this pose. It has to be this pose, the Gandalf the White. So I've got to do it, and I've just got to trick myself mentally into pretending I'll enjoy it and just kind of settle down with him and just try and smash it out over a couple of evenings and just get him done and get him finished and get him acceptable. Even if he doesn't look how he currently looks in my head, how I want him to look, I just need to make him look better than this. And so yeah, I'm going to try and, maybe the white horse flesh and then the yellow hair and then the cream robes, maybe they're 3 evenings, sorting one of those things per evening. I might go and look at some stock imagery of models that have done well, maybe even some of my own models where I've painted white and cream well to kind of remind me of what I'm trying to go for. Saruman, the plastic Saruman went quite well, so I might try and emulate that. But yeah, that's where I am on that. There's actually quite a lot of paint on him already, quite a lot of work done, but I still need to take him on quite significantly further. So that's what we're hoping to do with Gandalf. Eomer, on the other hand, needs a lot more work done. As you can see, he's not even fully base coated. You can see these bits here don't have any colour on them. I think I just started base coating him on one of the streams back in July. I think I knew that I was going to take him to Throne of Skulls at that point, so I just wanted to make a bit of a jump. And I haven't done much work on him, but as you can see, it has saved me a bit of time. So I'm going to continue to block these colours in and chuck some washes over him, and then go from there. Anyone who's followed the streams for a long time will know I despise painting Rohan armour. I hate the kind of Royal Guard, Theoden type armour, but I have to say, even looking at this, I'm hoping that I'll enjoy this one because it is the most detailed they have ever been. Let me just try and get a bit more light down here. Is that going to be a bit better? If you can see in there, you can really see the inlaid panels of metal here. So Eomer has silver in those inlaid bits and a red leather over the top. And I personally feel that all the old models, that kind of inlay has been beyond my skill to reach. I've never been able to actually make that look silver, but I just feel like the plastic models are so good that you will be able to leave silver showing through. So I'm going to try and pretend like that this is my first ever Rohan model and that I don't hate painting this armour, and just try and really, really pick out and enjoy picking out all the fabulous detail on this. Because this is another reason I don't want to rush this model. There really is tons of gorgeous detail on this. And so I'm hoping to enjoy this and do a really good job on him and make him another centerpiece model. So there we go. Those are my 2 models, 2 heroes that I'm really going to hopefully enjoy painting over the next couple of nights. And we'll get stuck in and go from there. Okay, so it is update time, and I am delighted to say Eomer is done. Oh yes, he's finished, and I've got to say, in a really unexpected twist, I'm absolutely delighted with how this has turned out. So I can't really remember quite what I said about my feelings about this in the intro clip, but I despise painting Eomer. I've never ever liked him. I was dreading painting this from scratch. I was dreading the armour. I was dreading painting a grey horse, and I've never been more delighted to be. I don't suppose it's proved wrong, because it's not about being right or wrong, but I don't think I've ever been so surprised by how much I enjoyed a model. I also never particularly, I didn't think it was a bad model, but I didn't think it was great or anything, and I've now utterly fallen in love with this model. So here he is. If I start with Firefoot, the grey horse, I suppose. I'm really pleased with how he came out. The absolute MVP for me here, and I want to make a record of this, was Storm Vermin Fur. This was the kind of grey I used as my sort of mid-grey on this guy. And this is, if you haven't used it, it's a kind of grey with a bit of brown in, and that's really kind of brought some warmth to the grey. I'm not sure how well it's coming up on the camera, but it means that it doesn't just look monochrome. It's not all just black and white. There is a bit of warmth in there, and that's Storm Vermin fur that's done that. So a kind of good tip there for a really nice grey to use. I was copying from the film to look at him, and his head's not quite as white in the end as Firefoot's head in the film, but I was so pleased with how it came out that I decided not to push it. And I even went for a dappled effect around the neck, which I've only done a couple of times before many years ago, and it never came out right because I just dabbed loads of white blobs all over it, and I hated how it looked. Whereas this time I deliberately went for something far more subtle, where I put those white blobs on, but then I painted at least 2 layers kind of over the top of them, sort of glazed back over them with grey, and I think that's come out really nicely. Lots of red armour. I'll try and remember colours where I can. The armour is, I think, Doomball brown, and then highlighted up with maybe Tuscarora fur to get that kind of reddy leather armour. Beautiful, beautiful kind of reins and everything on the horse. Really pleased with how that came out. And then to Eomer himself, and the big thing, the thing that I've always hated was the armour, because I could never paint it how it looks in the film on the old models. And I have to say, this is one of the massive, massive benefits of these new plastic kits, that you really, really can kind of get in there. And if you can see, you've got the metal inlay, the silver inlay inside the armour, and then the red trim around it, which I just don't think you've ever been able to properly paint on the metal ones. Maybe you can, it's just my ability. But this one it was an absolute joy to paint, and all this kind of lovely detailing here on the straps with the golden buckles and the silver clips. I'm really pleased with how the back looked with his scabbard. The armour again was pretty much the same. I think I did corn red, and then I did oh god, it was like an orange colour for the highlight on that. I can't remember what it was. Bear with me. Is it this one? It's not Talcum Ochre. That's a trick. Yes, it was this. It was Scrag Brown I used, which might seem a bit extreme, but if we look at, you can kind of hopefully see it on this. It was on the sleeve there. So yeah, I think that was corn red with a Scrag Brown highlight for the leather armour, and I tried to do it subtly enough that it wouldn't actually look orange. And again, I'm really pleased. The gold was Retributor armour, I think highlighted up with Liberator gold, and then my usual thing, which is to put Runefang steel on it, and then use the really, really bright silver, maybe even Stormhost silver, and then use Seraphim sepia to kind of glaze that yellow. That's what that gets, a really, really nice bright shiny gold. Again, you can see in the kind of the greaves there, the kind of metal inlay and the red armour. Went for a bit of green for his undershirt just to make the colours kind of pop a bit more, which is nice. They're even really happy with how his face came out, and his eyes seemed to work. Seemed to all land quite nicely in there around the helmet. Really pleased with that. And the horsehair, I think, was Zandri Dust and Karak Stone as the highlights for that. But yeah, and I think that's about it. And I'm just absolutely delighted. I can honestly say I've painted a lot of kind of what I call B-sign models in the last year or so. I've done a lot of my Last Alliance army, and I've done a lot of my Gondor army where I'm deliberately kind of speed painting. But I went back through my album finished pictures, and this is the happiest I've been with a model in about a year. In all honesty, like I've been speed painting a lot, or not really caring about the results and stuff for some other B-sign models like kind of Gollum and Madril and Theodred and that sort of stuff. Whereas this was the first model where, even though I was dreading painting it, I really wanted it to come out well, and I'm just so delighted. And I went back and I did some cave trolls towards the end of last year, I think back in November, that I was really pleased with, and I think this is the happiest I've been with a model since then. So I think for me, this is the best model I've painted all year. And if you all think it's rubbish, then hooray! But I'm just delighted with this. I'm absolutely over the moon with how it all came out. And I painted Eomer first, and I was like, oh god, what if the horse now goes wrong, and all that sort of stuff. But as it was, the horse turned out all right as well. So yeah, apologies for being sort of overly gushy, but I'm just utterly delighted with this, and I wasn't expecting to be. So that's great news. The downside is that because I genuinely enjoyed painting it so much, he took me longer than I expected. I was thinking, right, just got to get a decent job on this guy and move on. And as it was, I just fell in love with painting him and just kind of lavished a lot more time on him over quite a number of evenings. But worth it, I think. So yeah, massive props to Gav Newton for doing this incredible job on the new Eomer sculpt, and yeah, it's been one of those models that really has gone up in my estimation since painting it. So yeah, massive props. Another fun bonus was that it inspired me so much that while I was assembling my Riders Rohan, and more on those in the next vlog, I also assembled this guy. So I dug this guy out of the box, the sprue that you'll remember, as I said at the start of this vlog, this guy was assembled on the B-Sim stream about 3 years ago. I never did the foot model, but because he was still sitting in the same box waiting to be assembled, I had the Eomer love, so I've got this guy cleaned up. I decided to go with the sword and board for this on foot. I just think he looks absolutely awesome. It's another brilliant model. I'm not going to try and now paint him for Throne of Skulls, but it did encourage me to get the foot model out and get him assembled. But yeah, top awesome work on this. So Eomer is done. What about Gandalf? Well, Gandalf's the same. Gandalf has had no more progress done on him whatsoever, which is a bit of a shame. But I've been focusing all my time on Eomer. So Gandalf's up next. I am now fully inspired by Eomer, and I'm going to crack on with Gandalf. I'm not going to dwell too much on this because I showed you Gandalf in possibly the previous clip actually. But I'm hopeful that given that he's significantly further along than Eomer, he's not going to be too much more work. A couple of evenings work, kind of an evening on Shadowfax and an evening on Gandalf, I think will be enough to get us done. But yeah, he's up next, and that's where we are. In terms of timeline, we're not doing as well as I dared to dream. It's currently I can't remember when I filmed the last clip or when I started this one, but it's currently Tuesday the 7th of November. So we've got 2.5 weeks to Throne of Skulls. And of course, 2.5 weeks to Throne of Skulls is plenty of time to get this guy done, but it's not plenty of time to get this guy done and all my riders and my display board, which you'll be seeing in another vlog. But that is where we are. I'm hoping this guy can now be finished this week. If I could lock him off 2 weeks before Throne of Skulls so I can fully turn my attention to the other stuff, then that would be super. So there we go. We're halfway there, living on a prayer. Let's keep going and see if we can get Gandalf done. Da 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 da. Gandalf the Thrice Cursed is finished. Oh yes. Truly, on this vlog, I can't remember the last clip I filmed. Have I shown you? I feel like I might have shown you. I did an evening on him a few weeks ago and didn't get any further. I'm not sure if I filmed that, so it might be that the last clip you've seen is actually me celebrating how happy I am with Eomer weeks ago. But as it turns out, it is currently the morning of Friday the 24th of November. Oh yes, it's we're off to Throne of Skulls tomorrow. Well, today technically, but it is currently 3 AM in the morning, and I've just finished Gandalf. Kalu Kalay. So I think I'll talk about the overall kind of stress and weirdness of that in the little debrief clip, but for now let's just have a look at him. Here he is, and overall he's alright. As I said, I wasn't happy with how he looked at all when I picked him up, and then I worked on him for about an hour a few weeks ago and wasn't happy at all with how that went. And then last night, as the very last thing I need to do in my project, so like as you're watching this now, I know you haven't seen it, but all my warriors are complete and my display board's complete. Learn about them in future vlogs. But Gandalf was the very last thing I finished for the project, accompanied by Mr. Mark Stone on Zoom, giving me moral support. And last night I probably spent somewhere between an hour and 2 hours on him, from about 1 AM to 3 AM, trying to get him finished, and he kind of came together. Now he's not perfect. I'm not overwhelmingly happy with him as I was with Eomer. I really struggled to paint this model. It's Shadowfax in particular. I think the Gandalf himself isn't that bad. It's the massive areas of white on Shadowfax, and you can see where either as part of the new process or part of the old process, I've got little bits in there. Is it bits of sand, clumps of paint? I don't know. It's really quite annoying. and just trying to get smooth whites is something I really, really struggle with. I was quite happy in the end with his inner robes, which I went with this kind of blue white. There was a great guide in Battle Games in Middle-earth that talks about white having, I think it was neutral white, warm white and cool white, and it had like the blue cool white. It had the blue white as the cool white, and then the grey white as the neutral, and then the brown white as the warm, and that, I kind of was following that. And so I quite like those inner robes with a slight bluey tint to them. And Shadowfax ended up coming out alright when I don't know if I would have shown you this model at some point, but his tail was very, very browny and yellow, and ended up shifting that almost entirely into a kind of greys, and I was much more pleased with how it came out. And yeah, ultimately, last night was basically really, really productive on him, and I was really, really happy with what happened last night. Basically, I started painting this guy in June 2020, and made more progress on him last night than I have done in the last 3.5 years, frankly. But he's done, he'll do, he's not going to win any painting awards, but he now will not look kind of embarrassing and crap and half finished at the top of my Throne of Skulls board, in the way that I genuinely thought he would have done at 1 AM, sort of 2 hours work ago. So that's quite a transformation. Whether you think he looks good or not, I can only promise you he looks significantly worse 2 hours ago. So there we go. He's done. He's complete, and I can breathe a huge sigh of relief that he is finished in time for Throne of Skulls. And frankly, just a huge sigh of relief that he's finished. So there we go. Gandalf is done, and now I can head over to the chair and sign off this video. So there we go. Gandalf and Eomer are both finished and ready to head off to Throne of Skulls. And of course, not by October the 30th, as I hoped they would be at the start of this vlog, but instead by, let me get my dates right, Friday the 24th of November. So they were finished kind of 3.5 weeks later. The plan, as I would have outlined, I think at the start of this video, was to paint those two vlogs, paint those two heroes, and then move on to my warriors, and then move on to my display board. But instead, no, got them both finished in time, but I finished Gandalf the White the morning of Throne of Skulls. Absolute nightmare. I think I just mentioned it in the last clip, the kind of stress and weirdness of painting Gandalf the White, and it was an incredibly weird ending to the project. That I was on a Zoom call with Mark Stone for 5.5 hours on the Thursday night before Throne of Skulls, the day before we left, and I was working on everything else, and I just kept saying, and I've still got to do Gandalf, I've still got to do Gandalf, I've still got kind of 2 to 4 hours to put into Gandalf, and for some reason I kept putting that off and putting it off and putting it off, and he is finally done, and he's alright. He's not great, but he'll do for the event. What's also quite fun is I think I've shown you some clips, some overlays in the past. Forgive me, I haven't edited this yet as I'm recording this, but of the vlogs where I started painting him way back. The hobby vlogs, the streams. I think it was stream 11 or stream 13, B-Sime episode 11 or episode 13. It was Horse Week, whichever one that was. I showed you some clips of that. And around that time, there's a video on the GBHL called how GBHL Damian didn't make a display board for the Middle-earth Grand Tournament, where I was going to do a very similar idea, and that's around the same time. And in that 6:59 minutes in that video, I say, looking forward to the end of that video, hopefully I've painted Gandalf the White in February 2020. And then at the end of that, 30 minutes and 10, right at the end of that, and I'm kind of off, I think I'm mid-February at that point, I hope to God Gandalf the White gets finished, because I need him for my army, and that was for the GT in 2020. So suffice to say, I didn't get him done for the GT in 2020, and I didn't get him done by February 2020, but I did finally get that Gandalf the White finished in November 2023, which is kind of disastrous. It took me 3.5 years to paint that model, but all that matters is he's done. And as I said way back at the start of this vlog, which was about 6 weeks ago now, I've now finished every model I've ever worked on Battle Streams. Eomer and Gandalf were the two ones who were like kind of, left, who were part painted. But if you were so inclined and you went through all the 90 episode of Battle Streams, every model I've started painting on any of them is now finished, which is kind of cool. That's a cool, fun stat for me, and I'm pretty happy with that. So there we go. Gandalf is finished and Eomer is finished, and we can draw a line on this vlog. But there's more to come. This is, of course, the Road to Throne of Skulls Part 1, and I've finished my heroes. But I've still got some warriors. I've still got to paint 9 Riders of Rohan and get them ready for Throne of Skulls. And I've still got to make a display board and get that ready for Throne of Skulls. How's that going to happen? How's that going to work? You just have to wait and see in the next vlog. So I'll see you next Friday, where I cover the process of getting my batch of Riders of Rohan ready to go for Throne of Skulls. And I will see you there. I hope you enjoyed this vlog. Please leave a comment, as ever. It's the most important thing in the world to me, and I really do try and reply to all of them. Click subscribe if you haven't clicked subscribe. Check out our affiliate link for 7th City Games down there. It helps out the channel, and it helps out our friends at 7th City. And join if you feel so inclined. There's a link down there to our Patreon community, and you can sign up to that and join the coolest group of nerds in all the lands. But until next time, I'll see you next time. Take care.